The day I signed my divorce papers, I thought I'd lost everything, but it turned out to be the day I started to find myself again. I'm Alex, 35 years old, and if you're listening to this story, you've probably been at a crossroads too. A place where everything you believed in suddenly crumbled. A year ago, I left Los Angeles with a broken heart, a suitcase full of clothes, and an unanswered question echoing in my head. How do you keep living when the person you love most isn't by your side? Every corner of that sprawling city was saturated with memories. Echoes of Maya like ghosts haunting my every step. The sun-drenched streets now felt like gray faded photographs of the past. I fled to Santa Fe not to find answers, but to escape. I believed only geographical distance could soothe the wound that bled a little more each day. But it was here, amidst the ancient time-worn adobe streets, the vibrant festivals that made you forget all your worries, and a dusty old journal from the past, that I found something I never expected. Something I'd lost my entire life: self-love. This is the story of that journey, of the days I collapsed lying flat on the floor, consumed by pain, of the secrets that shook me to my core, seemingly beyond recovery, and of the moment I learned to stand up, accepting myself with all my flaws and scars. It's not a fairy tale about romantic love, but a ballad about the rebirth of a soul, about the power of healing when you dare to face yourself. So sit back, grab a cool glass of iced tea, breathe in the comforting scent of freshly baked bread wafting through the air, and let me tell you from the beginning about a healing journey that seemed impossible and was full of surprises. I met Maya at a captivating concert in downtown Los Angeles, back when we were both young, naive, and believed that love could conquer anything. She belted out Amor Eterno so loud it overpowered the band, her voice powerful and emotional, just like her echoing through the crowded venue. And I, a struggling freelance video editor with long hair and a well-worn band t-shirt, was immediately captivated by her smile as bright as a summer sunrise. Her deep brown eyes seemed to hold a mysterious universe, and I willingly got lost in that universe, never wanting to find my way out. We fell in love like something out of a classic indie film. Late nights devouring spicy street tacos on bustling city streets, the noisy traffic unable to drown out our laughter. Spontaneous road trips to the lush redwood forests where we lay on the grass, gazed at the stars, and dreamt, and long evenings stretched out on my old sofa hand in hand, listening to soulful classic American ballads, dreaming of a distant future that we believed would forever belong to us. A future with no room for separation. A year later, I knelt and proposed to her under the twinkling lights of the Santa Monica Pier, amidst the cheers of the crowd and the faint scent of night-blooming jasmine. She said yes with eyes sparkling like 1,000 stars, and in that moment I believed I was the happiest man on earth. All worries seemingly vanished. We got married when I was 27. Maya was a passionate and idealistic environmental lawyer, always fighting for justice with an unyielding, fiery spirit, defending what she believed was right. I, on the other hand, was still a freelancer living off short-term video editing gigs, occasionally taking on challenging and creative small documentary film projects. Our life initially felt like a romantic symphony. Passionate and tense, but gradually discordant notes began to appear, hinting at unspoken disharmonies, small conflicts slowly accumulating. Maya, with the practical nature of a lawyer, always viewed life through the lens of plans and stability. She started saying more often, her voice filled with worry laced with urgency, "Alex, we need a plan. A real job with health insurance, a steady paycheck. A small house of our own, maybe kids. You know, a life with a solid foundation, some security for the future." To her, that was an expression of love and responsibility. But I loved my freedom fiercely. I loved staying up late to finish an artistic video I believed would change the world. Loved the feeling of not knowing what tomorrow would bring, loved the uncertainty. To me, that stability sounded like a cage, a confinement for my free-spirited artist's soul-stifling creativity. We were like two parallel lines growing further apart on our paths to happiness. The arguments began minor at first, just trivial, harmless words. Who would do the dishes after dinner? Why did I forget to call an important client on time? But then they escalated into bigger, more intense battles, not just words exchanged, but deep-cutting wounds. Maya accused me of being thoughtless, irresponsible. I in turn felt she was trying to turn me into an Alex I didn't want to be. And so sharp words began to replace loving ones. I remember once Maya came home after a stressful day at work holding a car repair bill. She tiredly complained about the cost and financial pressure. I, instead of comforting her, casually blurted out, "You worry too much, everything will be fine." Her eyes immediately shifted from weariness to profound disappointment. "You don't understand, Alex. You never understand what I have to worry about." That was one of the first cracks. The silence between us became thicker than the arguments, a heavy quiet that made the air in our apartment suffocating. I started working more, staying at the office late, not because I needed the money, but because I didn't want to face the growing distance between us when I came home. In the evenings, Maya sat on the sofa reading while I glued my eyes to the computer screen, both of us pretending to be busy, but in reality running from each other. Our apartment, once filled with laughter and music, was now just a cold shared space. I noticed Maya started smiling less, her eyes often distant, full of worry. She no longer mentioned romantic trips or my art projects. Instead, she talked about successful colleagues, about the spacious houses they bought, about their adorable children. I knew what she was implying, but I couldn't change myself, or at least I thought so. I felt like I was disappointing her, but I didn't know what else to do. The day of the divorce came like a sudden rainstorm in a dry season. One April afternoon, rain poured down on Los Angeles, heavy drops hitting the window like the pounding of my heart. Maya sat across from me in our shared apartment, her eyes clouded, weary, as if she had cried a lot. "Alex," she said, her voice trembling, frail like a thread about to break. "I can't go on like this. We're hurting each other. Every day that passes, we grow further apart, and it's killing both of us." I wanted to scream, to beg her not to go, to hold on to everything we once had, all those sweet memories. But my throat choked up, unable to utter a word. I could only nod, sign the prepared divorce paper, each shaky stroke like my heart breaking, and watch her stand up, turn, and walk away. When the door of our apartment closed, I felt as if a part of my soul had permanently vanished, like a deep gash in my heart that I believed would never heal. The apartment suddenly became frighteningly cold and empty, leaving only silence and her fading scent, a final proof of a love that once was and that my indifference had killed. The days that followed were hell on earth. Every morning I woke up to an empty room that felt like an accusation. I wandered aimlessly around the apartment, touching our shared belongings, each item evoking a memory, a mistake. Her favorite coffee mug was still on the shelf, her towel still hanging on the rack. I looked at those things and realized how careless I had been. It was I who had built the wall between us, brick by brick. Each time I neglected her, each shallow word, each misplaced priority. I had been too absorbed in my own world, in my artistic passion, and the freedom I craved to realize that a relationship needs nurturing, needs attention and shared effort. I thought love was strong enough to overcome everything, but I forgot love needs to be cultivated every single day. I had been too complacent, too trusting in the permanence of love, to even notice the small cracks gradually turning into giant fissures. I hadn't listened to Maya's complaints, hadn't understood her anxieties about the future. I had ignored her tired eyes, her forced smiles, her last efforts to save this relationship. I had been too focused on myself to remember us. This bitter truth hit me hard. The divorce wasn't Maya's fault alone, or fate's. It was a direct consequence of my own indifference. I hadn't given the woman I once loved more than life itself the time or attention she deserved. I had let my personal priorities overshadow my responsibilities and affections for her. The feelings of regret and torment squeezed my chest heavier than the pain of separation. I realized that I hadn't just lost Maya, I had also lost myself in that selfishness and superficiality. And now it was too late to fix anything. Los Angeles became a labyrinth of pain. Every street corner, every coffee shop I passed reminded me of Maya, of beautiful memories now turned into agonizing wounds. I couldn't stay. Every morning I woke up feeling like I was drowning in a sea of memories with no escape. I packed my belongings hastily, just a suitcase full of clothes and a few personal items, leaving the apartment, and boarded a long-distance bus to Santa Fe without a word of goodbye to anyone. It was an impulsive decision, an act of desperation. Why Santa Fe? I'd heard someone say that this city had a strange energy, a healing power for broken souls, with its vibrant, colorful streets, rich traditional flavors, and lively festivals that made you forget all sorrows. I didn't know what I was looking for, only that I needed a place to breathe, a place where the past couldn't reach, where I could start over, even if it was just a tiny beginning. I rented a small but cozy apartment near the vibrant Santa Fe Plaza, a traditional hub pulsating with life. Here, the comforting smell of freshly baked churros, the rich aroma of chocolate, and the lively calls of vendors made me feel alive, still part of this world, no longer isolated in my own pain. To earn some money and keep myself busy, I took a part-time job at an art gallery downtown. The work was simple, arranging exquisite Navajo rugs, dusting colorful handcrafted figurines, and chatting casually with tourists. It wasn't glamorous, had nothing to do with my creative video editing work, but it was enough to keep me occupied, preventing me from sinking into negative thoughts or the despair that threatened to engulf me. Each day passed in a repetitive rhythm, but it gave me a sense of security. One day, while cleaning out the dusty storage room of the gallery, I found an old wooden box, worn out and tucked deep behind stacks of embroidered blankets. Inside was a small, unexpected treasure, a worn leather-bound journal, a tarnished silver ring that had lost its shine, and a few faded Polaroid photos. I opened the journal curious and saw faded blue ink handwriting but still legible. The author was Leo, a man who lived in Santa Fe in the 1980s. He wrote about his broken marriage to his wife Clara, about the immense pain of losing her, and about his journey to find himself again through learning to paint with local artists. Every word of Leo's was steeped in loneliness, regret, but also hope. He described the feeling of loss, the despair when everything crumbled, and how he slowly found his way back to light. One sentence in the journal stunned me like a bolt of lightning striking my soul. "I don't need Clara to be whole. I just need myself, and that's enough." I took the journal home, devouring it as if Leo was sitting across from me, telling his story over a warm mug of hot chocolate. His words were a powerful blow to my heart, a reminder that I wasn't alone in this pain. Leo had lost everything, but he still got up, still found meaning in life. Could I do the same? Could I overcome this abyss of pain? I scoffed at myself, a bitter laugh. "Alex, you're talking to an old notebook. You're losing your mind. You're much weaker than Leo. There's no way you can do what he did." Time passed and I kept reading Leo's journal. Gradually, his words were no longer unfamiliar, but became a guiding light, a quiet source of inspiration. I began to realize that running away wasn't healing. It only postponed the pain. And perhaps it was time for me to try something different, something more positive. Everything began to change when I joined a painting workshop at a community art center in Santa Fe. I don't know why I signed up. Maybe because Leo wrote so much about art and the feeling of creating, or maybe just because I was so tired of hearing my way on repeat in my empty apartment and I wanted a change. The instructor was Miguel, a silver-haired gentleman with a warm smile like my grandfather, kind eyes full of wisdom. He taught us how to mix pigments from natural elements of New Mexico, how to paint ancient and meaningful Pueblo patterns, and told stories about Santa Fe's history and culture as if the city were an old dear friend of his. Miguel didn't just teach painting, he taught us how to feel life. I started to paint clumsy like a child holding a brush for the first time, my strokes shaky and awkward. But with each stroke I felt myself breathing again, truly living, no longer choked by pain. I painted a howling coyote with mournful eyes, reflecting my mood at the time, the sadness still present, but now accepted. Miguel looked at the painting, nodding with understanding. "You paint from the heart, Alex," he said, his voice deep and warm. "Don't stop. Pain can also create art. It's an inexhaustible source of inspiration." Those words, simple yet sincere, brought tears to my eyes, as if a block of ice in my heart had just melted, a glimmer of light appearing. I also began to explore Santa Fe in my own way, no longer as a fugitive, but as someone seeking new values. I walked through the historic Canyon Road Art District, where vibrant red, blue, and yellow painted walls reminded me that life was still beautiful, still held bright colors, even though I was living in the gray tones of the past. I stopped at a small roadside stand, ordered a cool glass of horchata, and chatted with the owner about upcoming festivals, about the simple yet meaningful lives of the people here. I tried learning to cook green chile stew at a local class, even though I almost burnt the pot twice and nearly called the fire department, but I laughed at my own clumsiness. These moments, small yet significant, made me feel alive, not just existing. I started allowing myself to be happy, even if it was just a fleeting smile, a rare moment of relief. But not every day was easy. Some nights I lay in bed listening to the crickets outside my window, and the pain of divorce still surged powerfully like a sudden, overwhelming wave. I missed Maya, remembered her radiant laughter when I imitated Frank Sinatra singing love songs, remembered the scent of her perfume lingering on my pillow. I wondered if I was wrong for not trying harder, if I deserved happiness, if I was a failure. In those moments I would open Leo's journal, rereading passages about him, learning to forgive himself, learning to accept imperfection. I told myself, "Alex, just try one more day. Everything will be okay. You'll get through this." One afternoon, while organizing merchandise at the gallery, my phone vibrated. An unfamiliar number with an out-of-state area code. I hesitated for a moment, then picked up, and a trembling female voice spoke from the other end. "Are you Alex, the one who found Leo's journal?" I was startled, nodding even though she couldn't see me. "Yes, that's me. Who is this?" She introduced herself as Sarah, Leo's daughter. Her voice was mixed with emotion and hope, as if she had been searching for this for a long time. It turned out Leo had passed away 5 years ago from old age, and Sarah was searching for the journal her father had mentioned in his final years. She said it was very important to the family as it contained invaluable memories of her mother Clara, a person Leo hadn't mentioned for many years, almost like a taboo subject. Sarah offered to meet me in Santa Fe the following week. I agreed immediately, but my heart was filled with anxiety and curiosity. What was in this journal that moved her so much? Why was it so important to her? When I met Sarah at a quiet, quaint coffee shop on the plaza, I was stunned. She not only had the deep brown eyes that Maya once had, but also the way she tilted her head when talking, the charming soft smile, eerily similar to Maya. A strangely chilling sense of familiarity. Sarah recounted that her father Leo had divorced Clara due to a terrible secret he had hidden his whole life. He had been a severe alcoholic, and in a drunken, uncontrolled incident, he had caused an accident that severely injured Clara's leg, affecting her ability to walk. Although Clara, with her immense love, had forgiven him, Leo couldn't forgive himself. He lived in torment and guilt, unable to accept himself. He left so Clara could have a better life, a life not haunted by his mistake, and the journal was his way of documenting his journey of atonement, his search for inner peace. It was his confession, his repentance. But then Sarah revealed something that left me numb. My heart seemingly stopped. This twist was even more heartbreaking than Leo and Clara's story, and it touched a hidden fear within me. Clara never remarried. She spent her entire life waiting for Leo to return, though he never did. When she learned of his death, she completely collapsed and passed away not long after due to grief. Sarah handed me a letter from Clara written before her death, asking Sarah to keep it until Leo returned or someone found the journal. In the letter, Clara said she didn't regret loving Leo, even though that love was full of pain and separation. True love. She wrote the faded words, still powerful, is when you learn to love yourself even with a broken heart. And let the one you love be free, no matter how painful it is, because if you truly love them, you will want them to be happy, even if that happiness is without you. That letter made me sob uncontrollably. I saw myself in Leo, a man who made mistakes, blamed himself, and thought leaving was the only way to protect the one he loved. I handed the journal to Sarah, but she gently shook her head. Keep it, Alex. My father wanted it to help someone, and I think that person is you. It's destiny. You and he have many things in common, a strange connection. Sarah's words were like a cool breeze soothing my heart, a sense of empathy from a stranger. This meeting was not random, but a destined arrangement, a message from the past helping me to look at myself. Dia de Muertos. Day of the Dead arrived, and Santa Fe transformed into a living painting with colorful ofrendas, bright orange marigolds strewn across the streets, and the lively sounds of mariachi music echoing through the streets, blending with laughter and songs. The scent of marigolds, sweet pan de muerto bread, and beeswax candles mingled in the air, creating a feeling that was both sacred and comforting, full of remembrance and love. I decided to do something I never thought I would: create an ofrenda for myself. Not to commemorate someone deceased, but to bid farewell to the old Alex, the one who let divorce and feelings of failure define him. I wanted to bury that painful past and welcome a new version of myself, a stronger, more peaceful Alex. I placed on the small altar in my apartment a photo of Maya and me from our wedding day, a VHS tape containing the first video I ever edited, a passionate but naive project of my youth, and a piece of fabric I painted myself at Miguel's class. I lit candles, scattered bright yellow marigold petals around, creating a pathway, and wrote a letter to myself with all the sincerity I had. Alex, you're not perfect, you've made mistakes, but you are good enough. You deserve happiness. Live for yourself, not for anyone else. Love yourself, and then true love will come. I read the letter over and over like a vow to myself. That night in the main plaza of Santa Fe, I stood among the enthusiastic crowd watching Calaca skeleton dancers twirl vibrantly under the ethereal twinkling lights. I wore a brightly colored traditional embroidered shirt, feeling myself blend into the festive atmosphere as part of this city, part of its vibrancy and culture. Miguel, my painting teacher, appeared beside me, gently patting my shoulder. You look like someone who has found the light, Alex, he said, his experienced eyes gleaming with understanding and pride. I smiled, a genuine smile without any awkwardness. I knew he was right. The light had truly returned to my soul, dispelling the gloom of the past. A few months after the Day of the Dead festival, when I had found peace within myself, I received an email from Maya. She wrote that she was in Santa Fe working on a short-term environmental project and wanted to meet me. My heart thumped, a strange flutter mixed with a bit of curiosity and anxiety. I didn't know if I was ready to face her, but I thought it was time to close things properly. I agreed to meet her at my favorite coffee shop on the plaza, where I often read and watched life go by. Before the meeting, a small unexpected detail occurred. I was tidying up some old boxes and accidentally found a blue sweater Maya had knitted for me our first Christmas together. Memories flooded back, a fleeting sadness crept in, but strangely it wasn't the gnawing pain it used to be. I just smiled gently, folded the sweater neatly, and put it away. It was a sign that I had truly moved on. When Maya walked into the coffee shop, she was still as beautiful as the day I met her at the concert, her long flowing hair, deep brown eyes, and gentle smile. But now that smile held a certain maturity reflecting more experiences, more resilience. We talked not like two people once deeply in love, but like two old friends who hadn't seen each other in a long time, sharing about our lives and individual journeys. She recounted that she too had gone through a healing journey, learning to love herself and find peace after the divorce. "Alex," she said, her voice dropping, "I once thought you were my biggest mistake, but now I know we were just two people trying to find our own paths, and sometimes those paths can't go together, not because anyone is wrong, but because we needed different things at that time." And then she revealed a secret that made my heart stop, a twist I never could have foreseen. In the period we were separated after the arguments grew intense and the distance widened, she had become pregnant. That was why she was so insistent on the divorce, why she had closed herself off in the final months of our marriage. She didn't want me to see her vulnerable. But then before she could tell me she lost the baby, she feared that if she told me I would come back out of obligation, out of guilt rather than love. She didn't want me to bear responsibility for something that wasn't mine. It was a burden she had carried alone, a secret she had kept buried for the past year out of the love she thought she had for me. I wasn't angry. I only felt a profound sadness, an immeasurable regret for a tiny life that was never born, for a chance at fatherhood I never knew existed, for a future we might have had. But at the same time, I also felt relieved. The secret had been lifted, and I understood more about the pain she had endured alone. We hugged, a hug no longer of romantic love, but of forgiveness, of acceptance, and a true farewell to a chapter that had closed. When Maya left, I sat with my hot chocolate, feeling a peace I had never known. All burdens had vanished like dark clouds after a storm, making way for a clear blue sky. My life in Santa Fe continued in this newfound peace. I continued my video editing work for small projects and occasionally painted murals with Miguel, learning from his subtlety and experience. One morning, while checking my email, I received a message from Sarah. She sent me a photo of Leo and Clara from the 1980s. They were standing in front of a mural in Santa Fe. The photo was faded, but their smiles were still radiant, a love that endured through time. Sarah wrote, "I just found this photo in my mother Clara's belongings. I think you should know that the mural they're standing in front of is still in Canyon Road. Maybe you should go see it. It's a very important part of my parents' story." I immediately went to Canyon Road, where the colorful walls were still my endless source of inspiration, where I had walked so many times to find myself. After some searching, I found the mural still standing tall, a vibrant feathered serpent, a symbol of rebirth in Pueblo culture, with keen eyes and intricate, meaningful patterns. Below the painting, I saw a small weathered wooden plaque with words carved deep into my heart: "To Leo and Clara, who taught me that love is freedom." The signature was Miguel's, my very own painting teacher. I was stunned. A final twist, an unexpected connection, an invisible thread that linked me to Miguel, Leo, and Clara. It turned out Miguel had known Leo and Clara for a very long time. He had witnessed their story. He said Leo used to be his student, a talented student, but tormented by his mistakes. This mural was the gift Leo painted to apologize to Clara, a work he completed after Clara had forgiven him, as a promise to live a better life. Though they never got back together, the painting was a testament to their love. Not possessive love, but love that set each other free, allowing each to find their own path. Miguel was the one who helped Leo complete this painting, and he witnessed the entire healing process of his old friend. He was also the one who wrote that meaningful inscription. That twist made me realize that everything in my journey, Leo's journal, the fated meeting with Sarah, the letter from Clara, and now the mural with Miguel's dedication, was not random. They were pieces orchestrated by destiny, invisible guides leading me to myself, helping me understand that freedom, self-honesty, and unconditional love are the most important elements to find true peace and happiness. Life is a series of connections, and I am just a part of it. Now I'm still in Santa Fe, working as a video editor for small projects and occasionally painting murals with Miguel. My life is no longer stormy. There are no more buried secrets. I have found peace within myself, a peace that comes from self-acceptance. I've started a YouTube channel where I share stories about Santa Fe, its rich culture, and my journey of self-discovery inspired by Leo and Clara's story. My channel isn't huge, but every comment from viewers, people saying my story helped them overcome pain, helped them find hope, is an invaluable gift, a motivation for me to keep sharing. Leo's journal still sits on my desk beside Clara's letter and a photo I took of the mural in Canyon Road. They remind me that every pain can lead to a new beginning, that self-forgiveness is the key to moving forward, to escaping the chains of the past. Every time I walk through the vibrant streets of Santa Fe, hearing mariachi music somewhere, I smile knowing I have found my true home. Not in a person, not in a city, but in my own heart. I have reunited with Alex, a more complete, stronger, and more peaceful Alex. I don't know what the future holds. Maybe I'll fall in love again. Maybe not. But I know one thing. This Alex, the one telling you this story, has learned to love himself, learned to accept all his imperfections, learned to live authentically. And that's enough. This journey has taught me that happiness isn't a destination, but the journey of finding and accepting yourself. Alex's journey, a path filled with tears, unexpected twists, and ultimately liberation, is a profound reminder that while love can bring responsibility, responsibility cannot replace truth and trust. Sometimes letting go of a relationship isn't a failure, but the courage to find yourself again and allow true happiness to enter your life once you're ready to confront all that has happened. Never lose yourself trying to cling to something that is no longer real, because you deserve a complete and happy life. A life that doesn't require pretense or suffering, a life based on truth. If this story has sparked any thoughts or emotions in you, or if you have similar experiences, please don't hesitate to leave a comment below. Every share from you is an act of empathy, helping us feel less alone on this journey on the path to finding happiness. Don't forget to like this story to show your support. Share it with anyone you think might need to hear this message. Subscribe to the channel so you don't miss future profound stories, and turn on notifications to get the latest videos from me. Thank you for listening. See you in the next videos.